I happen to remember that from the previous comment. And one of the things that we covered last semester was the pronunciation of the ed ending. This is, by the way, the second part of the session for PIN 223, sorry, 233 on September the 3rd. And as you can see, we have a text here in which many of the, or if not all of the verbs are in past tense. So I'm going to ask some of you to read the section, the paragraph, which is not really long. So before we start, does anyone would like to volunteer? Would anyone like to volunteer?
Yes, I would like to read.
Okay, so Margaret and Javiera de la Fuente. So Margaret, you can take probably up to here, if that's okay with you. And Javiera can take probably the second part. Okay, anytime you want.
Okay, so I'm the yellow one. Okay, so the bear jumped out of its cage and into the crowd. She must have realized that this was her best chance to escape. The bear's trainer looked as though he were about to faint from the terror of it all. It seemed like his worst nightmare come true. He scrambled to the feet and started waving his hands and shouting to get the bear's attention. She stopped her wild rampage only for a moment at the sound of her trainer's pleas.
She quickly turned back to the crowd and resumed, knocking people up to the floor. The trainer suddenly had an idea. He reached into his pocket and pulled from it a large chocolate covered treat, a known favorite of the bear. He shouted the bear name once more and she turned to face him. She saw the treat and ran in full gallop towards him. He threw he threw he he threw the treat into the cage and the bear followed. He locked the door behind her and fell to the floor in relief. Apparently, the bear valued food more than freedom.
All right, good job. It's not easy to read in front of an audience. It's not easy to read in front of your peers. So congratulations on your performance. I think you did a very fine job reading the text in general. Right now, I would like to point out the words in blue because, as you can see, all of them are in past tense or simple past, right? So how come you were able to produce very well the ending? Why didn't you say jump it or look it or seem it? How come you said start it and you didn't say started it or stop it? It sounds so much easier to say stop it. What's the rule that you applied to produce these past tense words with the correct pronunciation? This is a general question, all right? How come they, which rule they did they apply? For example, she turned and not she turned it. What's going on? Are they following a rule? What do you think? This is not a question. Open question for anyone in the room.
when we have a word and that word in the infinitive form, it ends with a voice sound, we should pronounce the ed or the past form of that verb with a with a d.
Perfect. Can you show me, or can you mention, this is a general question, right? Can you mention any of the words that have a voiced ending that we should think about adding a d at the end?
Play, explain, live. No, sorry, live.
Lived, yeah, I understood. Lived. And from this text, anyone that fulfills this requirement?
Realized.
Perfect. Realized. The
Turn.
final sound, z. What was the other one?
Turn.
Okay, turned. Turned. All right. Any other one in which the final ed pronunciation is d? D.
Cover.
All right, excellent. I try to right here. Again turned. Okay. Any other?
Seemed.
Perfect. Seemed. Seem. That's right, Camila. Any other? Is that all?
Follow.
Scramble. Maybe.
Yes, followed. Perfect. Scrambled. Excellent. We got two more. Is that it?
Pulled.
Realize.
Pulled. Realized. Excellent. Followed. Javier says. Followed. Yes. Is that all? So all of these words seem to follow the same rule. The final sound is voice. The final sound in seem, in realize, z, scramble, cover, turn, in all of them, follow, in all of them, the final sound is voiced. Therefore, we are adding a d, a voiced d. What about the other ones?
Well, when a verb ending in a voiceless consonant, you pronounce it like t. For example, pushed.
Okay, pushed is not here, right? But yeah,
No,
pushed.
it's an example.
Exactly, pushed. That's right. Any other?
Jump.
In the text.
Refused.
I'm sorry, you said jumped? Okay, jumped.
Valued.
Valued, perfect. Valued, right here. Reached, Javiera, thank you.
Start.
Reached, start. Let me highlight reached. Okay, reached. In the case of start, yes, we have a voiceless final sound, but Okay, Javiera and Camila looked right here. In the case of started, in the case of start, they go into a very specific, special category. When we have a plosive sound such as or, d, t or d, we add an additional syllable. So start it, started, need, needed. So it seems to operate like that for every alveolar plosive. If alveolar plosive, right? Plosive, we have only two, t and d. So whenever we find one of them, we add an additional syllable, which can be it, like started, right? Started, or it can be instead of an e, a schwa, started, started, which is quite common in general American. So started goes into a very special and different category. Same thing with, what's the other one that is going to in the same category? Um, Shouted, right? Shouted. Shout ends in t, therefore we add an additional syllable. Shouted, shouted. Okay. Now we've got stopped, we've got locked. The final sound, the final ed, is pronounced with a voiced d or with a voiceless t. What do you think? In the case of stopped, 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 we have a final. A final voiceless, right? Consonant sound. Therefore, we have to use a t, which is also voiceless. So they have the same voicing feature. And in the case of locked, 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 we have k, which is a voiceless plosive as well. And we have to use t, which is also voiceless. That's pretty much the rule that you're applying, maybe sometimes unconsciously, right? But that's how it applies and how this can be explained. Um, Now, in the case of the S ending, we also talked about this the previous semester, which is what's the rule to apply whenever we're using a verb in third person singular, or sometimes a noun and we are pluralizing the noun. For example, the second word here on the left, watch. Watch can be a verb, but also can be a noun like a wristwatch, right? So the plural form will be watches, right? The same thing with in the second column, the word kiss, it could be a noun or a verb. And if we use the noun in plural form, or the plural form of the noun, we say kisses, right? Kisses. So it works out, the rule works out for nouns that we're making them plural or with third person singular verbs. So in this case, take a look at the way they are pronounced. Sorry, I don't want to change the slide. Take a moment, pronounce them, and see which sort of rule can be applied for the pronunciation of these verbs. What do you think is a rule to apply here? In the meantime, you think about the rule. Can Juan read the column on the left and Karen Rojas the one on the right? Pretty please.
I will try.
Thank you so much for trying, making the effort.
Um, Reaches,
Yes.
watches,
Excellent.
remembers,
You got it.
rises.
Woohoo!
Sorry. Oh, tries. No,
You got it.
tries.
No. Yeah, you got it quite well.
Okay. And witches.
And wishes, yes. I think there's a mistake here, but we're going to talk about that later. Thank you so much, Juan.
Thank you.
Karin, please.
Okay. Hopes, fixes, kisses,
Mm-hmm.
expects,
Excellent. Yes.
drives,
Mm-hmm.
works.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well done. Well done. Now let's consider the rule and see if it works. If it doesn't work, so we look at this from a more objective, or I don't know, I wouldn't say scientific, but we try to explain what's going on. So, Sada, do you know how to explain when we use just voiceless like a snake, when we used a voiced like a bee, and when we have to add an additional syllable like is. Do you know the rules, Sarah? So look at this.
Yes, Professor.
Okay.
Uh,
How
the r- the first role is when we have to use the add an extra syllable
Mm-hmm.
and pronounce like a is.
Yes.
Um, that's for sibilant sounds.
Okay.
And then the second rules is for voiceless endings, and we have to pronounce like a s. For example, the word bed.
Uh-huh.
No, 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 no. The word trips, for example, or
Okay.
dates. And the third rule is when we have to finish with and is for the voiced consonant sounds, like in the word crabs or words. That's the
Right.
rules.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. Let me go back to the first description when you referred to adding an extra syllable and you mentioned the concept sibilant. Do you all feel comfortable with the word sibilant? Does it ring a bell? Sibilant or sibilant consonant sounds? Is it something that you are familiar with? When we talk about sibilants, it's like think about a snake, think about a bee, think about producing sounds like s. For example, if you look at the chat, we have the first one, the first symbol on the left, which sounds like shh, right? Shh, as when you are hushing someone, right? Shh. The one on the right sounds exactly the same, but voiced. So instead of shh, you say zh, you add vibration of the vocal cords, right? Then we have the one that it's used, the examples you gave, remember? Church, change. So is that one. The next one is G as the one you find in jeans or James or Jean. All right. And then the most common ones, S and Z. This group of sounds is called sibilant. Okay, sibilant consonant sounds. Okay, when you produce these sounds, there is a very small gap in the oral cavity for the airflow to leave. So there's a lot of there's some friction present. Remember that we talked about the first two and the last two about being. Oh, we didn't say that this class, but the first two and the last two are fricative sounds. But we also mentioned the ones in the middle. There are affricate sounds. So we talked about them as a partial block and then a released causing friction, right? So all of these are sibilant sounds. So Sarah was referring to this rule that whenever we have a sibilant sound in the end, as is the case of rich, because we have ch, right? We need to add an extra syllable. Rich becomes riches, okay? The same thing with watch. Watch, watches, right? The same case of the last one, wish, wishes. The same case with rise, rises. And it's not the case of this one because that's a mistake. We don't say tries, just say tries, okay? The same case with fixes, fixes. The same case with kiss, kisses. Okay, in all the mentioned cases, there is a sibilant sound at the end. Therefore, we have to add an extra syllable, which sounds like Sarah mentioned. She said is, right? The second rule, I think, Sarah, you referred to this one.
Yes. Yes,
Yes,
Professor.
right? Okay. So hopes and expects and works, all of them share the same final sound in the infinitive form. Hope ends in a voiceless, a consonant sound. Expect is also voiceless, and work is also voiceless. Therefore, we used a voiced s sound. All right. Um, and as you can imagine, the same situation happens, but this time with voicing, because drive v is voiced, therefore we used a voiced z. So drive becomes drives, drives. Okay, drives. Um, try becomes tries, tries. And this is one of the main difficulties for English Spanish speakers. For Spanish speaking people learning English, because it's hard for us to produce voiced sounds. So drives, um, uh, goes, does, has, is are very difficult sounds for us because we need to be very conscious to produce them. Okay, so this is another topic that we dealt with last semester, and it's part of a course that deals with segmental aspects of the language, right? Um, General question for all of you: which is the most difficult sound for you, or the most difficult English sound for you to produce, or which do you think will be the most difficult sound to produce for your future students? And if you can provide an example.
Sometimes it's difficult for me. For example, when it comes after another word. For example, now I have to prepare what I have to say on the for another subject, and it says northern zone. So it's difficult. Northern zone, I, it's, I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Mhm.
Northern zone, right?
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah. Even let me type this northern. Uh, Tell me if it's misspelled or if this is the way that it's supposed to be spelled.
Yeah, it is correct.
Okay, so even though we have which is voiced, and then the following sound is voiced, uh, what do you think makes it difficult?
Well, this is another course, but I remember in linguistics we saw
Hmm?
that in our dialect, like the Spanish one and the Chilean one,
Hmm.
we don't have these types of realizations between s and z. There's no, we don't make that difference. That is why we have so much trouble to say zone. Sometimes I just say zone.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And you used a very technical term, which is a word that it's quite commonly used in phonetics and phonology. A realization of a sound which is not present in the Spanish repertoire or the sounds. We do not, yeah, exactly. We do not produce this sound, so we have to learn it consciously.
I think
And
only in the Portuguese one, the Brazilian one, they have the realization between s and z, but the rest of Latin American countries do not have, does not have.
exactly. Portuguese speakers have a certain advantage when they are learning English in terms of the voicing of some consonants.
Mhm.
You're totally right about that. Totally right about that. And of course, some European languages as well have this voiced sounds, so it's sort of an advantage. Also, well, if you think about the place of articulation, northern zone, it would not be a problem because both of them are alveolar sounds, right? Now, in terms of manner, and z, mm, a nasal sound, and then the next one is a. Anyone knows in terms of manner?
Isn't it?
If you don't know, say the produce the sound. You say zzz, zzz. So are you blocking the air? Zzz.
No.
No, we're not blocking the air. So it's not a plosive. It's not a stop. So if you're not blocking or partially blocking, it's not an affricate. So it's not a plosive. It's not an affricate. So what do we have left?
Fricative.
Zzz. Exactly, a fricative. Good. Fricative, friction, right? Fricative, friction. So we're going from a nasal sound into fricative sounds, right? So, and it's voiced. So I guess the passage from a nasal sound to fricative sound and and voiced at the same time. That's what makes this difficult for us, for Spanish speakers, right? Northern zone. You have to be very concentrated, Javiera, very focused to get this, to pull this out of your hat. Good magic trick. Javiera de la Fuente mentions sh and ch. Let's talk about this. Why sh and ch might be difficult for you or for your future students. What do you think?
I think that it will be difficult for my future students because I used to struggle with those ones, but if we expose them to those sounds, they will approach the knowledge. I don't know how to explain it, or if you get my idea.
Teacher, you are mute.
And that's the end of a story. No, I'm just kidding. So I so I remember. Thank you for the feedback. I remember I taught at a private school a couple of weeks. I was substituting a teacher, and my students, or the students there, had a hard time producing sh because they thought they sounded um, the sound was stigmatized. Basically, it was sort of connected with social class. So as they were part of this private school, they would not produce sh. So English would be English. Finnish would be Finnish. Okay, so they would switch or anything that sounded like sh, they would turn it into ch. Okay, so it is an interesting process from a social linguistic perspective, but basically, these students would not get the idea that changing the sound would have an impact on communication, because it's not the same when you say, for example, show, right, versus show. They are two different words with different meaning, right? So at some point, I think it's interesting to focus on sounds that might have an impact on communication, since I mean, I'm totally fine if your objective is to sound as native-like as possible, but we all have an accent, so it's really impossible to get rid of your accent. You would have to take, well, first you would have to have started from a very early age talking or using English, and probably take a lot of reduction of your accent courses to get rid of it. Otherwise, just bear with your accent because it's part of your identity. And people who speak the language as natives will always get your identity. They will always say, you sound a little bit Latin American. I don't know where you're from, but probably you are from a Spanish-speaking country. As we can figure it out, a gringo that even though the gringo has been living here in Chile for decades, still there's one element, not maybe segmental, but super segmental, that reveals his true identity. So, but for example, as it was Javiera was saying, sh and ch, they may have an impact on communication. So we need to focus on that. We need to be aware, and we need to design exercises that students might produce and practice to understand that they are we're dealing with different phonemes. Okay, remember in English, sh and ch are phonemes, because if you use one of them, um, it will have an impact on the meaning of the word. In Spanish, they are allophones. Allophones. We can say shala and chala. Everyone will understand the same. Shomba and chomba. Tengo una shomba, tengo una chomba. It's the same. I mean, they're allophones. Different sounds, but they don't have an impact on the meaning. Any other sounds that you might consider difficult for you as future teachers of English or as English language learners?
I have one.
Who's I? Juan, go for it, please. And Camila also contributed with one. Juan, go first, please.
Is the vocal sound from cat? I don't remember the name of the sound. So it's the vocal sound from cat. I think it's a butterfly. The trap. The trap.
Yes, the vowel. Some people call it trap. Yeah, but yeah, I get it. It is a difficult sound. Yeah. Is it important to take care of this sound?
Yes, because it can change the meaning of some words.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. particularly when we are comparing, for example, a trap, a wedge, and a long ah. And so we say, for example, cat. We say hut, and we say car. So these three words have different vowels, and these vowels are not well, the closest one to Spanish, I guess, is the one in the second example, hut, hut, ah. It's shorter than the Spanish but I guess is closest to what we have in Spanish. Cat, as Juan said, has a vowel called trap. The trap vowel is difficult. Ah, cat. Bat, tap. The one in the middle, hut, I guess it's easier. And then we have a long ah, which is not present in Spanish at all. Ah, car, father. So most of us produce the long ah with as a wedge, as the one is the second example, hut. So many of us say father, not father. We hardly open the mouth to say ah, father, car. We just say father, father, right, with a wedge, and we feel comfortable, and no one cares, right? So I totally agree with Juan that the trap might be difficult, particularly when some words use a wedge or a long a, and they may have a different meaning. So totally agree with you. When we say hat and when we say hot, hat, hot, hat, hot, it's a different word with a different meaning, with almost exactly the same pronunciation. I mean, if you're not paying attention, you might confuse them easily. It has happened to all of us at some moment. And thank you for your contribution, Juan. And Camila Otarola mentioned G. Why is this one difficult, Camila?
I always get this. It's difficult for me to pronounce them. I'm sorry, my dog can make a noise here.
No,
So
it's okay. No, don't worry. It's okay. We'll understand that we're having it under different conditions. So, yeah, no big deal. No, it's not a big deal. Even though, even you might have some, construction noises in the background or some music in the background. That we're totally fine. So yeah, G and J. G, and J. Interesting sounds. The first one is an affricate sound, right? The second one is a fricative one. And the first one starts with a partial block and then a release of the air with a friction. And the second one starts just with a friction. And all of them are sound foreign to Spanish. J. And even J, I guess, is a little bit harder because no one says television, vision, Azure. Uh, have you ever heard anyone using J? Uh, so, yeah, I totally agree with Camila Oterola. J, it is a difficult sound. And it is a difficult sound as well when you compare J with J. Both of them, what do they have in common? Oh, that's such a great question. I never have a pencil around to write down these questions whenever what do they have in common? G and J. Let me see if I can find a pencil or a pen. Okay, I'm going to type it here. Such a good question for a quiz. What do they have in common? I mean, it requires a very short answer. So Both are palatal. J, jeans. J, azure. All right, all right. Is that it? Is that all? Just the same place of articulation and voiced. Good, good. All right, exactly. Both are palatal. Both are, even though some authors refer to one of them being palatal and the other one being alveopalatal or palatal alveolar. But anyway, the point is that they are produced by raising probably the blade towards the hot palate, right? And both of them are voiced. Exactly. Good call, Camila. The only difference is what's the only difference that they have?
One is fricative and the other one is affricate.
Exactly. One of them is fricative and the other one is affricate. The first one on the left is um, affricate, right? And the one on the right is fricative. So the only difference is the manner of articulation. Excellent. So these are two good questions for a short quiz. I mean, a formative quiz, right? Don't be startled about the word test or quiz. Um, Okay, this is the only class in which we are going to be addressing specifically contents that are part of the previous course, the PIN233, in terms of the course code. Basically, the course that deals with segmental information or vowel sounds and consonant sounds and concepts that are part of the introduction to articulatory phonetics. Okay. In the next class, we are going to be dealing with suprasegmental features. If you pay attention to I'm not sure if I'm sharing the syllabus, but if you take a look at the syllabus, the first thing is going to be syllable, basically. Okay. Um, if you take a look at the LMS, and with this, we're going to finish this session. The course in the LMS, let me see if I can switch the role to student. Let me see if I don't have to enter my password again. Anyway, in the introduction, you'll find the name of the course. You will find in a folder called Programa del Curso y Planificación de la Actividad Curricular, and you will see the syllabus here. Okay. Then in the section called Class Material, you will find a Word file that says Video Resources, and you can find resources from YouTube dealing with intonation, features of connected speech, accents, different English accents, right? So take a look at this these links if you are an audiovisual learner. The next link, it says shared folder. You will find reading material here. If you remember the syllabus, you will see some authors like Carr or Roach, and you can find the PDF files here. It says shared folder because you can add anything that there's a missing S here. Anything, PowerPoint presentations, PDF files, Word files, YouTube videos, anything, you can add them here because it's a shared folder. So all of you might be editors as well. Okay. The contents for each one of the topics are here. Okay. And oh, and by the way, remember that at some point you will be doing some short presentations or micro classes here, micro teaching activities. So you might want to revise one of these features of connected speech. Maybe you would like to think about who you would like to work with. And later on, we will give you the instructions with Sophia, right?
Professor,
Then, yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
Is there any reading that you recommend us to do for the next class, or
Yes, I would say take a look at Peter Roach's book and to find a definition of rhythm and syllable. I would say take a look at the concepts of rhythm and syllable so you are familiar with some concepts, and therefore we are going to go over the definition, but then we can go to more practical exercises. So I would say go and check Peter Roach's fourth edition, and the pages are in the syllabus. Okay, the page numbers. Sorry, the page numbers are in the syllabus.
okay, Professor? Thank you.
Alrighty. So this is in the second topic. We will have an activity in which you will be working with this as a group activity, as sort of a small project thing, because you will have to find some linguistic samples of actual speakers using assimilation, right, or using elision, or using graduation, and we will have this sample to analyze, and you will provide examples, etc., etc. We'll go over the details later on. And then after the third topic, which is intonation in general, right? Intonation. We will talk about variations in English accents, and again, you will assume or take on a leading role, and also we will have some short presentations. All right. So you may want to take a look at some English accents. Maybe you're, because of movies or I don't know, artists, you may want to do some research about Californian accent or Southern accent or Welsh accent. Okay, so you may also want to take a look at this. At some moment, I will upload a Google Drive, and you can type whatever you are going to choose as English accent or as one of the features of connected speech. Okay, because these are going to be group activities. They're going to be presentations. In the third tab, I'm going to upload the recorded sessions, so you can find them here. In the next tab, anything connected with the evaluation is going to be here, such as tests, quizzes, rubrics, uh, everything that is connected with evaluation, such as grades as well. Grades are also going to be here. And complementary material is the last tab that is going to be given to the teaching student assistant if there is one, because I requested to have one teaching student assistant, but you never know. Sometimes no one wants the role, or sometimes people who want to take on the role apply kind of late. So we'll see that. And we'll go over the way we're going to be working with you guys later on. Sophia will be in charge of the class on Thursdays. Sophia, am I right?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay, on Thursdays. Um, and uh, and supposedly I'm going to be in charge of the class on Mondays, but this is going to be a gradual process. We're going to be together, right? And because this is going to be co-teaching, and co-teaching implies two teachers in charge of the same group of students, and I think it's going to be very, very beneficial both for you as for Sophia and myself as well, because this is a very interesting experience. I had some students for practicum, but it wasn't a professional practicum as far as I remember. I think it was just the previous one, Sophia, the one that students made only 2 interventions. Yeah, the previous practicum.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
we were supposed to do 2 interventions, but this kind of different because we're expected to actually teach, like even though if they're not supervising us. So yeah,
that's
I
fine.
think we will also have supervisions, but we're not sure when yet.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I heard in the last meeting with Ms. Briseño, that there are going to be this the same process of class observations.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have no idea about the dates.
No, we don't know yet.
So
Yeah.
yeah, guys, do you have any comments or questions before we put an end to this very long session? And I do apologize for abusing your patience. All right then.
I think that we don't have
So
questions.
okay, if you do, please remember the. I mean, you can contact us through email, right? Through Teams, so we can arrange a meeting. I understand that this class is made up of over 30 students, and there are 18 participants today. Well, Sophia and myself. So there's only 16 students. So half of the class is not here. Or looking at it from the bright side, half of the class is here. Half of the class is present. So I'm a little bit concerned about the other half because at some point we're going to have to divide the tasks, and you will have to, what we always do, create groups, assign the tasks. So we'll see, right? We'll wait for next class. Maybe not all of your classmates received the invitation, but we'll see about that later, right? Have a wonderful evening. I will see you on Monday, I think. Yeah,
Yes.
on Monday.
Yes.
All right. So remember, if this talkative teacher seemed to be talking nonsense at some point, there's always a room or space to ask questions. If you do not feel comfortable asking the questions in the session, you can always contact me or contact Sophia for a one-to-one conversation in English or Spanish, because several of the concepts that we have to manage in order to explain some of the phenomena in phonetics or in English phonology are really complex or dry or boring. So, but sometimes, with a little push, you may achieve success in this class, which is always the objective for you and for the teacher. Okay, I want all of you to hopefully pass the class, and but that implies making the effort. If you feel that you're lagging behind, if you feel that you're not understanding, to take on an active role and search for help. Okay, for assistance. So let's talk in Monday. Remember, take a look at the syllabus. The first topic is going to be the rhythm in English and the syllable. I'll see you on Monday. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Goodbye, everyone. Enjoy the rest
Thank
of
you,
the evening.
Professor.
Thank you,
Bye,
Alrighty.
bye, sir.
teacher.
Bye,
Bye.
Bye-bye.
sir.
Bye,
See you
teacher.
around.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.